All right, good morning. My dumbass again forgot that they had a morning game, so we are doing our picks again from the truck. And yes, technically the Jacksonville Buffalo game is in progress. The current score is 11-0, I believe, Jacksonville. I'm gonna pick this game anyway, and because I was gonna pick Buffalo no matter what. So if they pull it out, I don't feel bad, and I think I should get credit even though the game's in progress. If you remember correctly, I had Chicago picked on the Thursday night game. So we're going to run through our game picks real quick. We have Indianapolis and Tennessee. I think Jonathan Taylor is going to be playing, so I'm going to pick Indianapolis. They have not played bad most games this year, I don't believe. And getting a good running back, a really top 3 to 5 running back in the league, I think that will benefit them a lot. I think they'll win. Next, we have New Orleans and New England. And I think with Derek Carr not being 100%, Bill Belichick wanting to bounce back from a bad loss last week, I think New England pulls this one out. Next, we have Pittsburgh and Baltimore. I think Baltimore wins. I think OBJ is going to be playing for the first time since week 1. Baltimore's offense has looked a little bit better now that they're starting to get comfortable with each other. And Pittsburgh's offense is just still in shambles, still hasn't got it going. I think their defense is better, but I don't think their defense is going to be enough to win this game for them. So I've got Baltimore. Atlanta and Houston. I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I'm going to pick Houston. It's kind of a risky pick. I know Atlanta's favored, but Houston's played pretty well in a few games. They beat Pittsburgh, they beat Jacksonville, so Houston has played well in games, and for that reason, with Atlanta not necessarily being that good of a team, they've played okay in a few games. It's like, all right, I'm kind of leaning towards Houston on that one. Detroit and Carolina, no surprise here. I'm taking Detroit. This is one of the bigger spreads of the week. I think it was like 9.5 last night for Detroit. Carolina's just not there. They don't have the weapons, and I got to go with Detroit. Miami, New York Giants. This one was the biggest spread of the weekend. I want to say it was like 14.5. No, it was like 12.5. I'm sorry, 12.5. And I made the comment, I'm surprised that spread was not 17 plus, because if I remember correctly, I think outside of the second half against Arizona, I don't think New York Giants offense has scored a touchdown. They didn't score one week 1 against Dallas. I think week 3 when Saquon got hurt, they kicked nothing but field goals against the 49ers, and then last week they kicked a field goal and that was it. So if anything, they may have gotten 1 touchdown and missed the extra point against San Francisco. But all that being said, they've only scored a few touchdowns in 4 games total, and like I said, either all of them or all but one came in the second half against Arizona. So with Miami's offense and its potential, we saw its potential 2 weeks ago against Denver. It still scored 20 points against Buffalo, who has a much better defense than the Giants. I just think they're going to put up 30 plus, and I think you're going to see New York put up 17. Maybe 17. Maybe not even that. Probably 10, honestly, or less. So I just think Miami's going to blow them out, and I think it's going to be like a 17 plus point game. Arizona at Cincinnati. I think Joe Burrow, pressure's kind of on because they're not looking good so far this year, and I think they pull this one out. I think Cincinnati wins this game, and I think they get back to somewhatly winning. They've got to get their season back on track, and I don't necessarily think this game will do it, but I think they will start stepping in the right direction with this game. And I don't know how true it is. I saw something where supposedly Jamar Chase requested a trade because he got into it with head coach. It kind of looked like a spam post, but I've got it logged in the memory in case something comes up and it's like, oh, I guess it was true. But I think Cincinnati wins this game. I think this is somewhat of a get right game for them, and I think they will beat Arizona. LA Rams and Philadelphia. I think Philly wins this game. I think both teams have pretty good offenses and pretty good defenses, but I think Philly's going to be better at the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball. And I think I think their talent level overall is better, so I'm going to go with Philly. Denver and the New York Jets. As much as I want to pick the New York Jets as we got to beat Sean Payton game after his comments about Nathaniel Hackett, Jets offensive coordinator, without Aaron Rodgers, I just don't see the Jets winning this game. Their defense is going to have to play really well, which it's capable of doing. And Zach Wilson will have to repeat and play like he did last week against Kansas City if they want to beat Denver. And this is one of them games where it could go either way. I think they're capable of beating Denver, but ultimately I just don't think they will. I think Denver wins. Kansas City and Minnesota. I saw a stat that Kirk Cousins, statistically, his best year in his our best month of the year across his career is October. I think he's like 15-5 in October, and their offense has been good in a lot of games. They've put up a lot of yards, a lot of points, but they've had so many costly turnovers. And their defensive front has not been bad, but ultimately it's Kansas City, it's Patrick Mahomes, it's Travis Kelce. Their defense is really good, and their defense has played good other than last week. Defense kind of let them down. Offense kind of struggled a little bit, but they got the job done last week against the Jets. And I think they'll get the job done against against Minnesota. Kansas City wins. The Sunday night game, probably the biggest matchup of the week. It's San Francisco hosting Dallas. You got two great defenses. You have one great offense and one really good offense, because Dallas's offense has not been great this year. They've put up way too many field goals and not enough touchdowns. I think that's going to play a factor because San Francisco knows how to end drives and punch it in. Dallas is struggling in that facet. But I think we're going to see a lot of good defense tonight. This is one of them games where this is a game where Dak needs to step up, because at some point the game is going to be on him to win and make a play, and this is where he breaks that stigma of he's not good enough to win a Super Bowl, he's not good enough to win big games. And I say that, I don't think this one game will be enough to break that, but it will be enough to start limiting the conversation and say, okay, we've seen him play good in a big game, we've seen him help win a big game, so the next time a big game comes around, there will be less emphasis on Dak needs to get the job done, or and there will be less emphasis on Dak can't get the job done. So this is a big game for Dak, but ultimately if Brock Purdy plays like he has, protected the ball. I saw a stat the other day saying that he's like, I think number 1 or number 2 in the NFL against man coverage, and it's like 14 touchdowns to 2 interceptions, a lot of yards, high completion percentage. It's like, okay, when you play man coverage against the receivers, when Brock Purdy's back there, he makes the right decision with the football, and Dallas plays man coverage more than anybody so that they can rush the passer. So as long as that offensive line holds up and gives him a little bit of time, a little bit of protection, I think Brock Purdy will shred to the Dallas secondary. And it's a road game for Dallas. Dallas typically doesn't win these big road games. So, and ultimately, when it comes down to this game, San Francisco's got the better coach. They've got the better coaching staff, I think. And I think they win. San Francisco wins. I think the spread's 3.5, 4.5 points. It's one of them games where I don't like the spread, but I do like San Francisco to win. And I mean, I could go into a lot more stats with this one particular game, but like I said, I think that what it's going to come down to mostly is the coaching and the fact that San Francisco gets touchdowns in the red zone and Dallas gets field goals. And wrapping up week 5 is the Green Bay Packers on the road in Las Vegas for Monday Night Football. And it's Jimmy Garoppolo cleared concussion protocol, so he's going to play. I think it's a 1.5 point spread. Pretty close game. Green Bay having a long week coming into this because they played the Thursday night game week 4, a little bit extra time. I'm going to pick Green Bay to win. There was some disappointing news that come out of Green Bay. David Bakhtiari is going to have a 5th surgery on his knee. He's going to be done for the season, but they think they have pinpointed the issue with his knee that's caused repeated issues and caused long-term problems. And they think this will fix it and get him back on the field permanently, or at least a lot more consistently. So I'm very hopeful that he's a very good offensive lineman. I follow him on social media. I've done a lot of research on him. I think he's a really cool guy, really great guy. Hate that he's been through what he's been through ever since he tore his ACL at the end of 2020. Really, in my opinion, couldn't happen to a better guy. And it's a really bad situation for him. But hopefully this gets him right. And in the meantime, hopefully we can manage to at least maybe get Elton Jenkins back on the field, get him at left tackle, because he's a really good offensive lineman. He's very versatile. I think he's capable of playing the position well. So hopefully we can get some offensive line protection. But when it comes to the Raiders, I think if we can protect Jordan Love, keep him from getting sacked as much as Detroit sacked him last week, and I think that'll go a long ways into making a huge difference, because we've got the offensive talent. Like Christian Watson is he's a good explosive receiver. Romeo Doubs and Jordan Love have proven they have a good connection. Jaden Reed as a rookie has played very well, and we got 2 very good running backs. If we can get them involved early, I know I've said LaFleur needs to do a better job calling plays on offense. He absolutely does. I think some of that with a little bit of offensive line protection, I think that will go a long ways in helping call the games better. And ultimately, the defense has to play better. Joe Barry has to do better on defense, and run defense has been bad. They have Josh Jacobs, who can shred a defense, and they have Devontae Adams, one of my favorite receivers all time. Very talented receiver. Hopefully Jair Alexander plays well against him. But I'm going to call Green Bay winning this just because it's a close game, and coming off the long week, a little bit extra time to prepare, a little bit extra time to rest, and have people feeling good. So I'm leaning towards Green Bay on this one. And that wraps up my Week 5 predictions. We may go more into depth on this Monday night game in a video tomorrow. Probably go more in depth and have a lengthy discussion on the Dallas-San Francisco game. And probably talk about Buffalo and whether they come back and win today or not. Maybe talk about Miami getting back on track after blowing the Giants out. And maybe Kansas City, whether they win or lose against Minnesota in the fashion that they do so, and start looking towards the playoffs and how things are looking going into the middle of October. But hope y'all have an enjoyable Sunday. Enjoy some football. Hope your teams win, unless you're Vegas fans, and then I hope they lose tomorrow night. But I will catch y'all in a video tomorrow. Have a good one.